and welcome to the third and final part of this video series covering the Swedish SJ sound. I'm Adam, and in this video I'll go through every possible spelling for this sound. If you don't know how to pronounce the SJ sound, or if you don't know about its pronunciational variations, I highly recommend you to watch the first and the second part of the series before watching this one. As for my pronunciation in this video, I'll be following the central Swedish pattern of using both types of the SJ sound as presented in part 2. Okay, let's get started. The SJ sound is, without competition, the Swedish sound with the largest amount of possible spellings. This is a great source of infamy for this sound, at least among native speakers. A popular claim is that this sound can be spelled in at least 65 different ways, but let me tell you right now, that is false and based on misconceptions about how the sound system actually works. In reality, the number of different spellings is somewhere close to 25, counting generously. And this might seem heavy enough, but before you let yourself freak out about it, let me point something out. In English, these are all possible spellings of the SH sound, at least in some varieties. And it'll be insightful to consider them, because it so happens that there are a lot of parallels between the spellings of English SH and Swedish SJ. Most of the various English spellings are actually different combinations of the same 5 letters, and a few that are left either follow the same principle or only occur in a single word. And guess what? This is basically the case for Swedish as well. Let's start with the originally Swedish spellings of the SJ sound. As you can see, these start with an S and tend to end with a J. The most common and iconic of these spellings is SJ. With the exception for compounds, this spelling is always pronounced h and is normally found in the beginning of words, as in sjö, sjuk, själv, shoppig. It is not used in front of the vowels I and E, and only rarely before Y and Ö. SSJ is used after a short stressed vowel and is only found in about 10 words, many of which are very uncommon. Examples are hyscha, ryscha, escha. It is not pronounced as a single unit in compounds, such as påssjuka or issjö. Exceptions are place names, for example, Nässjö. SK is the second most iconic way of spelling this sound. This spelling is used before the front vowels I, Y, E, Ö, and Ä, and only when the vowel is stressed, as in skina, skör, skärp, skydda. In other cases, this combination is pronounced as it's spelled, as in fisk and läskig. The word människa is pronounced with a back and is a unique anomaly that doesn't really fit any pattern. Another unique exception is the word marskalk. Also, many modern loanwords don't conform to this pattern, but are still spelled the same way. For example, skissa and skelett. SKJ is only used in these 5 words: skjorta, skjul, skjuta, skjuts, skjuva. It naturally also occurs in variations of these words, such as skjortknapp or skolskjuts. STJ is used in the following 5 words and their variations: stjäla, stjälk, stjälpa, stjärna, stjärt. STG only occurs in these 3 words and their variations: östgöta, västgöta, Gästgivagård. It should be noted, however, that many people pronounce these words with a spelling pronunciation as if they were normal compounds. XJ only occurs in the place name Växjö, and if you consider that X is just a combination of KS, or in this specific case, GS, this spelling isn't really that weird at all, just fancy. All of this variation might seem stupid to a learner, but it's not entirely without point. Since the spelling represents an older stage of the language, it's still useful for connecting words that have similar origins, despite their pronunciation not being very similar anymore. For example, sjunga, sång, själva, skalv, skjuta, skott, stjäla, stöld, östgötsk, Östergötland, and several others. The same thing happens in the conjugation of irregular verbs. For example, skära, skar, skurit, and stjäla, stal, stulit. It is also applicable to related languages, such as English and German. Next up is SCH. This spelling is originally German and found in many German loanwords, but it's also been considered a normal way of spelling the SJ sound for a long time, and actually used to be the preferred spelling when respelling loanwords to make them look more Swedish. As a result, this spelling is common in all sorts of originally foreign words. For example, schack, schäfer, schnitzel, fräsch, affisch. In some specific words, it's pronounced as SK, as in schizophrenie, but these words are few and usually recognizable to a learner due to their internationality. And then we have an entire collection of spellings. These are all Latin in origin and are easy to recognize. First of all, the words that have these spellings usually also appear in English and most other major European languages. And secondly, they're almost all followed by ON. Examples are vision, depression, suggestion, station, reflektion. 4 words with the spelling TI stand out, because the T in these words is actually pronounced as well. These are nation, ration, motion, portion. In Finland Swedish, this is not an issue because the TION suffix doesn't fit here at all. In Finland, this specific combination is always pronounced with the TJ sound and not with the SJ sound, as in Sweden. The SJ pronunciation is valid for variations of these types of words as well. For example, visionär and stationera. However, for other words of the same kind, but without a subsequent ON, the SJ sound is usually not present, which might seem odd to an English speaker. Examples of this are potential, polisiär, Kroatien. And then there are of course a couple of exceptions to both of these rules, such as ambitiös, pretentiös, assiett, bastion. The place name Kristianstad is also an exception, seeing as it's a native Swedish name with an STI spelling. Alright, moving on. This row consists of originally French spellings, which means that they only occur in French loanwords. G is quite common, as in gest, geni, giraffe, generös. As in French, it's always followed by an E or an I. GE is also quite common, usually occurring at the end of words. Garage, prestige, eloge, orange. GI only occurs in the word religiös. Note that religion does not have this pronunciation. J occurs in several words in front of back vowels, just like in French. For example, jour, jasmin, jargong, justera. JE only occurs in the rarely used word damjan, as well as the woman's name Jeanette. CH is common, found in words such as choklad, charm, chock, champignon. Note how the same spelling in more recent, non-French loans usually stands for the TJ sound instead, as in chili and chip. And finally, CHE is also quite rare, occurring only in uncommon or specific words, such as apache, quiche, touche. Then we have SH. These words are usually English in origin, and usually older loans. Examples are sherry, sheriff, shoppa, shorts. Although just like with CH, modern English loans with this spelling tend to be pronounced with a TJ sound instead, as in shotta and milkshake. SHI only occurs in the word fashionable, Note how this word is commonly pronounced with a front SJ sound, even in Central Swedish, thus violating the general pattern. And finally, there's the spelling SC. In most words, this combination is pronounced just like the spelling would suggest, as in English. For example, scen, disciplin, disco. But there are a few words where this spelling represents an SJ sound, and just like the spelling SHI, the spelling SC generally violates the pattern as well, because the words with this spelling also tend to have a front SJ sound. For example, crescendo, fascist, fascinera. But I want to stress here that there is an even larger variation and irregularity in the pronunciation of these pattern-breaking words than there are in most other cases. As you may already have noticed, the Swedish SJ sound tends to correspond to sh and zh sounds in other languages, and these sounds also tend to be the original ones in loanwords. What you may find interesting and possibly amusing is that this goes for a couple of old and well-established names as well. For example, we have the three cities of Shanghai, Genève, and Rio de Janeiro, the islands Shetlandsöarna, as well as the oil and gas company Shell. And believe it or not, but that's it for the SJ sound. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more videos on Swedish pronunciation, spelling, and dialectal variation.